The morning 17 oxen came over Bracken Ridge. Every man outside Pike's feed room stopped talking. Not because Laurel Fork was a quiet town. It was not. It was the kind of Kentucky hill town where a broken fence could feed conversation for 2 days if the weather had been dull enough. But 17 oxen? 17 cast-off oxen, roped in a slow line behind a low wagon, moving through town with mud on their knees and no hurry in their bodies. That was not ordinary. And when the wagon turned off the main road toward the Mercer place, Walter Pike took off his hat, counted them twice, and said the sentence the town would repeat for the rest of that year. What does Lila Mercer want with 17 oxen? The answer had been lying under her farm for 21 years. But nobody in Laurel Fork knew that yet. They only knew the animals were old, uneven, expensive to feed, and mostly useless to the farms that had already begun bragging about kerosene tractors. They knew Lila Mercer was 42 years old, widowed, and carrying a note at the county bank. They knew her ridge fields were just good enough to keep her alive and not good enough to get her free. And they knew one more thing. A widow with debt did not buy 17 animals no one else wanted unless she was desperate, foolish, or both. Lila was not in town when the oxen came through. She was standing at the lower fence of her own property, looking down at the place people still called Sedge Bottom. It was 96 acres of creek-bottom ground below her farm, not low enough to be swamp, not high enough to stay dry. It held mist in the morning and water in its hollows after every hard rain. It grew sedge grass, willow shoots, buttonbush, and the kind of tough green growth that looked alive only because it had learned to survive where crops could not. The old people said the soil down there was black as stove soot. They also said it would take a fool to try to farm it. Both statements were true. The drover brought the oxen to her gate just after sunrise. His name was Ben Harker, and he was 19 years old, with the nervous politeness of a boy delivering something he did not want to explain. He said, 17, ma'am. Mister. Rudd said that was all of them. Lila looked past him at the line of animals. Some were red, some were brindled. 2 were nearly white around the face. One big black ox stood with his head low and his eyes half closed, as if he had already decided the morning contained no surprises worth lifting himself for. Ben shifted on the wagon board. He also said to tell you he hopes you understand they eat, even when they're not earning. Lila walked the line slowly. She did not look at them the way town men looked at a bargain, trying to find the cheat inside it. She looked at their feet, their knees, the fit of their shoulders, the way each animal placed weight, weighted, shifted, and settled. Her father had taught her that draft animals told the truth before men did. A man would say an animal was finished. A hoof would say whether the ground had only been asking the wrong question. At the big black ox, she stopped. He did not move away. He only breathed once, warm and heavy in the cold morning air. Lila put her hand against his neck. You'll do. Ben handed her the papers and the lead rope. Mr. Rudd said nobody else would take them as a group. Lila did not look up. That is why I could afford them. By noon, Laurel Fork had improved the story. By afternoon, the oxen had become 20. By evening, someone at Pike's feed room said Lila Mercer had mortgaged her kitchen stove to buy animals too slow for the modern age. Walter Pike did not correct him. Walter owned the feed room, and feed rooms did better when stories were left to fatten. Clive Rudd was the loudest voice in the county that winter because he had bought a kerosene tractor the previous spring and needed everyone to understand what that meant. He had farmed 240 acres north of Laurel Fork. He had a new iron machine under a shed, a payment book in his desk, and a habit of using the word progress as if it belonged to him. When he heard Lila Mercer had bought the last of his old oxen, he laughed once and said, "Well, every age needs someone to stand behind it and close the gate." The men around him laughed too. It was not cruelty exactly. It was relief. A person who had just borrowed heavily for the future enjoyed seeing someone else purchase the past. Lila heard about the laughing from Asa Finn, the banker. He did not tell it as gossip. Bankers rarely admitted to gossip. He told it as concern. He came to the Mercer place 3 days after the oxen arrived and stood in her yard with his gloves tucked under one arm, looking at the animals as if they were numbers that had learned to breathe. "Mrs. Mercer," he said, "you know your note matures in October." "I know the date." "And you know the bank has already extended once." "I know that too." His eyes moved toward the lower land. "What I do not know is why a woman trying to keep a farm solvent would add 17 mouths before spring." Lila wiped her hands on her apron. "Because mouths are cheaper than losing 96 acres. Asa Finn frowned. "You cannot lose what you cannot use." That was the sentence that stayed with her. Not because it was wise, because it was exactly the mistake everyone made about Sedge Bottom. They thought unused land was empty land. Her father had never thought that. When Lila was 11, Elias Mercer had taken her down to the lower fence after a rain and shown her a clump of black earth he had scraped from a high bank where the creek had bitten into the ground. He held it in his palm like something dug from a mine. "That soil has been eating leaves since before my grandfather had whiskers," he told her. "You see that color?" She nodded. "Good ground works quiet," he said. "A loud field spins itself. Quiet ground keeps what falls on it." She had asked why they did not plant it. Her father had looked down at the sedge, the standing water, the low, shimmering places where no wagon could pass. Because good ground is not the same thing as reachable ground. For 30 years, Lila remembered that. For most of those years, remembering did nothing useful. Then her husband Nathan died in the influenza winter of 1909, and the farm became not a memory, but a ledger. 74 acres on the ridge, a small orchard, 2 worn horses, 1 cow, the note at the bank. Enough production to make payments in a fair year, and not enough to survive 2 bad ones back to back. Sedge Bottom remained below the fence, dark and impossible. Until the day Clive Rudd's new tractor sank to its axle on Mill Road. It happened in March, when thaw and rain had turned the road into a long trough of yellow clay. Men came to watch because machinery stuck in mud had the same attraction as a preacher losing his place in a sermon. The tractor driver cursed. The wheels spun. The lugs cut deeper. Two teams of horses tried from the road and slipped sideways. Then old Sam Blevins brought 4 oxen down from his place. They did not pull from the dry edge. They stepped into the soft place. One hoof, then another. They leaned their weight forward, not hard, not fast, not fighting the mud like an enemy. They listened to it. They found bottom where the horses had found panic. Then they pulled at an angle no machine operator would have chosen. The tractor came out inch by inch with a wet sucking sound that made half the men cheer and the other half pretend they had not been worried. Lila stood at the roadside and watched the oxen after the work was done. They did not look triumphant. They only stood there, breathing steam into the cold air, as if they had always known the mud had a language, and men were only now catching up. That was when the first piece of the answer came to her. Sedge Bottom did not need force. It needed patience with weight in it. It needed animals willing to feel for the ground before trusting it. It needed work that could move as slowly as the land required. The second piece came in November, inside an old flour chest in the Mercer barn. Lila was looking for a harness buckle and found a survey book wrapped in burlap. Most of it was ordinary. Fence lines, timber marks, 2 pages of crop tallies from before she was born. But at the back, in pencil, faded almost to smoke, someone had written 4 lines. South Run begins at Split Sycamore. Cedar Road under sedge. Stone box sunk 9 feet north. Gate stopped in 91. She read the lines until the words stopped being words and became a map. Cedar Road under sedge. Stone box. Gate stopped in 1891. The bottom had not simply gone bad. Something had broken. And before it broke, there had been a road into it. A road under the sedge. Not a road in the ordinary sense. No county road, no gravel, no open track. Lila knew enough old farm talk to know what Cedar Road meant. Corduroy. A road made of logs laid across soft ground, one beside another, buried slowly by use, mud, rot, and time. A narrow way for wagons to cross land that would otherwise swallow wheels. If that road still existed beneath the grass, and if the old cedar had held even part of its shape under the wet, then Sedge Bottom had not been unreachable. It had only been hidden. The third piece came when Clive Rudd decided to sell the oxen. He had kept them after buying his tractor because no farmer likes admitting an old system is gone until he is done needing it. But feed cost money. The tractor payment cost more. By late winter, the old animals were an embarrassment under the shed. He offered them by pairs. Nobody bought. He offered them singly. A few were taken. The rest remained. Lila asked him for the lot. Clive thought she was joking. When he realized she was not, his smile changed. "You want 17 old oxen?" "I want the ones you cannot place." "They're slow." "Good." "Some are past prime." "So is most of my equipment." "They'll cost you to feed." Everything worth keeping does. He named a price too high because he expected her to step back. She named one low enough to insult him and fair enough to make him hear it. They settled before the stove went cold. For the first month, Lila did not take the oxen near the bottom. She learned them. That was different from owning them. Owning happened on paper. Learning happened in mud, breath, refusal, correction, and repetition. The big black ox she called Anchor, because when he stopped, the line steadied around him. There was a red ox with one torn ear that moved with a careful intelligence she called Book. There was a smaller brindled steer who startled at rope shadows, not from meanness, but from old mishandling. She called him Candle, because fright lived in him like a flame that could either light or burn, depending on the hand near it. She worked them in pairs at first, then 4, then 6. She repaired 2 stone boats from the back of the equipment shed, low wooden sledges broad enough to carry weight and flat enough not to cut into soft ground. She rebuilt yokes, shortened chains, mended bows, greased wooden runners with tallow, and made every connection strong before she trusted it. People driving past saw only a woman moving slow animals in a frosted field. They did not see the test. Weight added by 50 pounds. Turns practiced on wet ground. Starts and stops drilled until the animals knew her voice better than they knew the lash men had once used on them. She almost never used a whip. She did not have to. A whip made an animal fear the question. Lila needed them to understand it. By April, the ridge fields were greening. Sedge bottom still looked like a mistake. On the first dry week after Easter, Lila opened the lower gate. She took Anchor, Book, Candle, and a white-faced ox named Miller. No sledge, no plow. Only rope, a long iron probe, and a spade. The animals stepped down the slope behind her with their heads low. At the edge of the sedge, Lila stopped and looked for the split sycamore. It had taken her all winter to find it. The tree itself was gone, but stumps tell a history if they are large enough, and the old sycamore root crown remained on the east side of the bottom, hollowed and gray, split down the middle by weather. From there, the survey book said, the south run began. Cedar Road under sedge. Lila pushed the iron probe into the wet ground every few feet. In most places, it sank deep, too easily. Then, 27 paces from the dead sycamore, the iron struck something firm with a dull wooden knock. She froze. She pushed again. Knock. She moved 2 feet. Knock. She moved another 2. Nothing. Back. Knock. A line. Not straight as a fence, not visible from the hill, but a line of buried resistance under the sedge. She cleared the grass with her spade until the ground showed a dark rib beneath it. Old cedar, soft at the edges, harder deeper down, blackened by years under wet soil. Still there. Lila stood over it, breathing hard. The oxen waited behind her with the patience of creatures that did not require proof to be dramatic. For 2 weeks she followed that buried road. Some sections had rotted, some had sunk. Some were so covered by soil and roots that she could find them only by the sound of the probe. The old way ran 230 yards into sedge bottom, bending toward a slight rise near the creek bend, exactly where the land looked least useful from above. It had been built by someone who understood the bottom before it failed. That mattered. A foolish old road would not help her. A wise old road, even half buried, might. She began strengthening it. Brush first, then flat stones from the upper pasture, then split rails that had outlived their fence. The oxen dragged material down in small loads, never enough to break the old corduroy, always enough to add body to it. Progress was so slow that from the road it looked like nothing was happening. That was the mercy of it. If the town had seen the early work, it would have laughed louder. Instead, it only guessed. Walter Pike guessed she was preparing firewood. Asa Fenn guessed she was delaying the inevitable. Clive Rudd guessed she would sell the oxen back for less by summer. Every man guessed from the road. Lila worked below it. The darkest day came in May. A rain moved in from the west and sat over Laurel Fork for 36 hours. By the second morning, water ran through the yard in ribbons. The ridge field held. Sedge bottom filled. Lila should have waited. She knew that. But she had reached the place where the survey book's next line mattered. Stone box sunk 9 feet north. Gate stopped in 91. If the stone box was a drainage gate, and if it had stopped in 1891, then the water now showing itself could reveal the path. Standing water lies flat when it has no direction, but blocked drainage leaves signs. Heavier wetness where flow should turn. A line of seep where water searches for a way out. A bowl that stays full while the ground beside it begins to release. Lila saw that pattern from the hill before noon. She yoked anchor and book to the small stone boat and went down. Halfway along the reinforced cedar road, the left runner dropped. Not far, only 6 inches, but enough. The sledge tilted. A load of flat stones slid sideways. Book lunged against the yoke. Candle, tied behind as lead relief, startled and jerked. The old cedar under the left runner gave a wet crack. Lila shouted for them to stand. Anchor stopped. Book fought one more breath, then stopped too. For 10 seconds, everything held. Then the mud under Lila's right foot opened to her knee. She went down hard. Cold water filled her boot. The chain tightened across the sledge. If the oxen panicked, the road would tear open. If the road tore open, the whole approach she had spent months building would become a trench. At the upper fence, 2 men had seen the lurch. Walter Pike and Asa Fenn were coming down the slope, too late to help and early enough to witness failure. Walter called, "Cut 'em loose!" Lila did not. She knew what panic did to work. Panic broke what patience had built. She pressed one hand into the mud, pulled her leg free, and moved to Anchor's head. His eyes were wide now, not wild, wide, listening. Stand. The big ox trembled through the shoulders. Stand. Book shifted. Stand. Rain tapped the surface of the water. The sledge creaked. Asa Fenn reached the bottom edge and stopped where the ground softened under his shoes. "For heaven's sake, Mrs. Mercer, leave it." Lila kept her hand on Anchor. "No." Walter Pike said, You'll lose the team. No. You'll lose the road. Only if I hurry. She unhooked the load piece by piece, not the animals, the load. She moved stone by stone, standing knee-deep in cold mud, taking weight off the sledge until the runners lifted half an inch. Then she gave Anchor the soft cluck he knew. The ox leaned. Book leaned after him. The sledge rose. The cracked cedar groaned. Then the whole thing slid forward onto firmer ground. 1 foot, 2, 3. Enough. Lila stood in the rain, soaked to the waist, shaking from cold and strain. The men at the edge said nothing. That silence did not feel like respect yet. It felt like men deciding whether the failure was large enough to call finished. Asa Fenn removed his hat from the rain and said, "This is exactly what I feared." Lila looked at the water moving around her boot. A thin line of it was curling north under the sedge, faster than the rest. "No," she said, "this is exactly what I needed to see." The next morning she went to find Gideon Shaw. Gideon was 76 and had dug drains, laid stone culverts, cut ditches, and cursed wet land in 3 counties before arthritis bent his hands. He lived behind the Methodist church with a dog that trusted nobody, and tools he still sharpened out of habit. When Lila showed him the survey book, he read the 4 faded lines twice. Then he looked at her with sharper interest than most people had given her in years. "Cedar Road under sedge," he said. "I found it." "Stone box?" "Not yet." "Gate stopped in 91? "That's what it says." Gideon folded the page closed. Then somebody knew the water had a throat. Lila waited. He tapped the book with one crooked finger. Fields like that do not drown because water is present. They drown because water has no clean way to leave. He went with her the same day. At the bottom, he walked slower than she did, not because he knew less, but because he was reading more. He looked at sedge height, moss color, the line of willow roots, the shape of standing water, the slight drop toward the creek bend. At the place where Lila had nearly lost the sledge, he stopped. "That crack saved you a week's guessing," he pointed with his cane. "Dig 9 feet north." They dug through wet soil the color of black coffee. 1 foot, 2, 3. At 4 feet, the spade struck stone. Not random stone, cut stone, stacked. A box culvert, narrow and deep, built to collect water from 2 shallow side drains and carry it under the old road toward the creek. The top stones had shifted. One side wall had leaned inward. Roots had filled the gap. Sediment had packed against the roots until the culvert became a plug. A gate stone, flat and broad, had dropped out of place and sealed the throat almost completely. Gate stopped in 91. The pencil note had not been a mystery. It had been an unfinished repair. Gideon sat on an overturned bucket beside the hole and looked down at the blockage. "Well," he said, "there is your devil." Lila looked at the stone throat, the packed roots, the dark water pressing behind it. "Can it be opened?" "Yes." "Can it stay open?" "If it is rebuilt better than it was left." "Can I do it?" Gideon gave her the look old workmen give young pride and old desperation. Not alone. So Lila hired 2 brothers from the South Hollow for day labor and paid Gideon to direct what his hands could no longer do fast. For 4 days the oxen made the work possible. They hauled stone without sinking the men. They brought gravel, timber planks, new clay pipe, and tools down the old cedar way. They pulled the broken gate stone clear with a chain wrapped twice, because the first time it did not move. They dragged root mats out, whole, black and shining, like something taken from the belly of the field. The town still knew only pieces. A boy saw gravel going toward the Mercer place. Walter Pike saw Gideon Shaw on the road and said, "You working for Lila?" Gideon said, "I'm working for the water." By the 4th afternoon, they had the stone box rebuilt. The side walls were reset. The top stones were lifted and seated. The gate stone was replaced with 2 smaller stones Lila could move if she ever had to open it again. The outlet to the creek was cleared for 31 yards. At sundown, Gideon nodded to Lila. "Pull the last board." She did. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the trapped water inside the box shivered. A brown ribbon slid forward, then another. The culvert made a deep, hollow sound, as if the field had taken a breath through a throat that had been closed for 21 years. By dark, the water at the mouth of the culvert was moving steady. Not rushing, not dramatic, just leaving. That was all it had ever needed to do. Leave. Over the next 3 weeks, Sedge Bottom changed in ways only someone watching daily would believe. The water did not vanish. Land does not heal like a curtain being pulled back. It released itself in inches. The shiny hollows dulled. The sedge roots loosened. Places that had taken Lila to the ankle took her only to the soul, then not at all. The old cedar road, reinforced and drying from beneath, hardened under use. The oxen learned the path so well they slowed before its soft turns without command. By late June, Lila walked from the lower gate to the creek bend carrying a measuring rod, stopping every 30 paces to push it into the soil. In February, the rod had gone down past 12 inches in 3 places before she stopped measuring. In June, most of the bottom held at 2, some places at 1. Near the old stone box, the top layer stayed damp, but the ground below had body. She knelt and lifted a handful. It was not mud now, it was soil. Black, loose, sweet-smelling soil with leaf fiber still in it, the kind that holds together just long enough to show its strength and then falls apart when rubbed between the fingers. Her father had said, "Quiet ground keeps what falls on it." Sedge Bottom had been keeping for a long time. In July, she broke the first 12 acres, not the whole 96. That would have been greed disguised as ambition. The first season was for learning. She used anchor and book on the breaking plow, with miller and candle rotating in when the heat rose. The plow moved through the bottom soil with a deep, steady pull. Not easy. Easy soil is often thin. This was not thin. It resisted like a full granary resists a door. Every furrow turned over dark.
Every pass revealed what had been waiting under sedge, willow, water, and other people's certainty. Men began coming down the slope in August, not in groups at first, one at a time. That way, no one had to admit he had come to see. Walter Pike came with a sack of feed as an excuse. He stood at the edge of the broken ground and looked across it without speaking. Lila let him look. After a while he said, "How far does this run?" "To the creek bend." "All of it like this?" "Most of it." He rubbed his jaw. 96 acres. That is what the deed says. He looked toward the oxen, where Anchor stood in shade flicking flies with his tail. "Those animals got you in." "The old road got us in. The oxen let us use it." Walter nodded slowly. "People thought you bought trouble." Lila set one hand on the plow handle. "People saw the mouths. They did not see the feet." That line traveled through town faster than the truth behind it. By harvest, the first crop was not corn. It was buckwheat. Fast, forgiving, useful in poor timing, and honest enough to tell her what the ground would do. It came up thick. White flowers spread over the bottom in September like a low fog. Bees worked it hard. The soil stayed moist through 2 dry weeks that turned the ridge pasture brittle. When Lila cut it, the yield from 12 late broken acres paid for winter feed and half the interest she owed the bank. Not a miracle, a number. She wrote it in the farm ledger. 12 acres broken. Buckwheat cut September 28th. Yield above ridge average by more than half. Water table holding. Culvert running clear. Anchor sound. Candle calmer. Asa Fenn came in October. He did not stand in the yard this time. He asked to see the bottom. Lila took him down the old cedar road, now visible as a slightly raised track packed with stone, brush, cedar remnants, and 2 seasons of ox hoof. He stepped carefully. At the stone box, water ran clear enough to see the pebbles beneath it. At the broken 12 acres, stubble stood in neat rows. Asa removed his gloves, finger by finger. "I misunderstood the asset," he said. Lila looked at him. He corrected himself. "I misunderstood the land." Most people did. "And the oxen?" She looked toward the pasture. "I did not buy them for what they were worth on other farms." "For what then?" "For what they could reach on mine." Asa Fenn had no sentence ready for that, which made it one of the better conversations Lila had ever had with him. The following spring she planted 38 acres of sedge bottom on time, corn in the central section, beans along the south run, clover where the soil needed holding. The oxen worked slowly through April and May, not as a symbol of the past, but as a practical answer to a field still too tender in places for heavy wheels. Clive Rudd brought his tractor to the fence once. He did not come down. His machine stood on the ridge road, shining under dust, iron wheels tall and proud, and useless for that narrow, soft approach. He watched Lila's oxen turn a row at the bottom edge, where the ground would have pulled his tractor sideways before it reached the first stake. To his credit, he did not laugh. To his discredit, he said, "That will never be efficient." Lila shaded her eyes and looked up at him. "Efficient for what?" "For modern farming." This is not modern farming." He smiled. "Then what is it?" Lila looked back at the row, the oxen, the black soil folding clean under the plow. "Farming the ground I have." The summer of 1914 was dry across the county. Not a famine, worse in some ways for pride, because it was dry enough to separate good decisions from lucky ones, without giving anyone an excuse dramatic enough to hide behind. Ridge corn curled by July. Pastures browned early. Clive Rudd's tractor worked every acre he could put beneath it, but horsepower did not make rain, and iron did not hold moisture. Sedge bottom held, not because it was wet the old way, because the water table now sat where it should, low enough not to drown roots, high enough to feed them. The deep soil released moisture upward through the dry weeks. Clover stayed green. Corn leaves folded at midday and opened again by evening. Beans kept setting. The county agent, Henry Vale, came in September with a notebook and the slightly stiff manner of a young, educated man trying not to sound surprised by an older woman. He measured. He asked about planting dates. He asked about drainage fall, crop rotation, acreage, livestock cost, labor hours, and yield estimates. Lila answered from records, not memory, records. The rebuilt culvert length, 31 yards cleared to the creek, 38 acres planted, 12 in clover. 17 oxen purchased, 14 in active rotation, 3 light duty. Buckwheat yield from the prior year, corn stand counts by section, rain dates, dry weeks, soil depth where measured. Henry Vale stopped writing and looked at her. "You kept all this?" "Yes." "From the beginning?" "Before the beginning." He looked down at the black soil around his boots. "Mrs. Mercer, this bottom may outproduce every ridge field in this township." "It should." "Why?" "Because it has been fed for decades and starved of use." He wrote that down, then crossed out the wording and tried to make it sound official. That fall, the numbers moved through Laurel Fork with more force than gossip because numbers were harder to laugh at. Sedge Bottom produced nearly twice the corn per acre that Lila's ridge fields did on comparable seed. The beans sold well. The clover fed the animals that had opened the way in. By October, she paid the bank interest, paid down principal, bought no new machine, and wintered every ox she had chosen to keep. Asa Fenn marked the ledger and said, "You understand this changes your standing." Lila said, "No, it changes your understanding." He looked up at her. She did not smile, neither did he, but he dipped his pen and entered the payment cleanly. By 1915, Sedge Bottom was not a rumor. It was a field. That was the difference. A rumor belongs to whoever tells it loudest. A field belongs to whoever can work it. The old cedar road was rebuilt into a permanent farm lane, not wide, not pretty, but true. The stone box ran clear after storms. Lila mapped the side drains and marked the access stones so no one after her would have to search by faded pencil and luck. The oxen settled into the farm's rhythm. Anchor worked only 3 days a week now because age had earned him rest. Book became the smartest animal on the place. Candle stopped flinching at rope shadows. and learned to lower his head into the yoke before Lila touched it. Even Clive Rudd admitted once to Walter Pike and nobody else that the animals had been worth more to her than they ever were to him. Walter did not repeat that sentence. Some stories are improved by gossip. Some are improved by being withheld. One late November afternoon, after the second full bottom harvest, Lila found Walter Pike at the lower fence. He was looking down at the dark turned ground. The field had been cut, cleared, and lightly turned for winter. Crows moved along the far edge. The creek made its small, cold sound beyond the sycamores. Walter said, "I counted them that morning." "The oxen?" 17. I counted twice because I thought I had it wrong." Lila stood beside him. "You did not." "I said you had lost sense." "I heard." He looked embarrassed, but not enough to hide from it. "I suppose I owe you an apology." "You owe me nothing." "I was wrong." "That is different." He accepted that. For a while they watched Anchor at the edge of the pasture, broad black head lowered, steam lifting from his nose in the cold. Walter said, "Was it the animals?" Lila thought before answering. It was the animals. It was the road. It was the stone box. It was the note in the survey book. It was my father showing me the soil before I had any use for knowing it. Walter nodded. That is a long answer. It was a long problem. He looked down at the bottom again. All that ground was there the whole time. Yes. All that richness. Yes. Waiting. Lila looked at the field. "No," she said, "not waiting." Walter turned toward her. She kept her eyes on the bottom. Waiting sounds like the land owed somebody a harvest once they finally noticed it. It did not. It had a broken throat, a buried road, and water standing where it needed to leave. It was not waiting. It was working at what it could do under the conditions it had. She looked at the oxen. So were they. That winter, Lila placed the old survey book beside her own ledger on the kitchen shelf. The faded pencil lines remained at the back. South Run begins at Split Sycamore. Cedar Road under Sedge. Stone Box sunk 9 feet north. Gate stopped in 91. Below them, in darker ink, she added her own entry. Stone Box opened June 1913. Cedar Road restored. Sedge Bottom in production. Water running. She did not write that people had doubted her. That was not farm information. She did not write that the town had laughed. Laughter left no useful instruction for the next person who might need to solve a problem after everyone else had mistaken it for waste. She wrote what mattered, where the road was, where the water ran, what had been broken, how it had been opened. Then she closed the book. Outside, the oxen shifted in the winter dark, their weight quiet in the barn, their breath rising warm against the boards. Below the ridge, the bottom field rested under frost, not empty, not finished, resting. The ground had been there the whole time. She was the one who learned how to reach it.